But how do you get someone to own that story, to believe that story as they put it out there in the world?
I would say stop thinking about yourself and your story and start thinking about the people that your story can help. You know you're doing it wrong when you feel fear. Fear only shows up when you're thinking about yourself. Think about when you're like going to go on camera and you're like, oh gosh, does my hair look good? Like, is my makeup right? Like, does my outfit look cute? Like, am I going to say something stupid? Are my friends going to make fun of me? It's all self-centered. But what we learned is there is no fear once the mission to serve becomes clear. If I'm driving down the road and there's a car turned over and someone is screaming for help and I run over there, I'm not thinking about, is my outfit cute? Does my breath stink? Does these pants make my butt look big? Right? Like, I'm not thinking about that. Why? Because it all disappears. I'm going to help someone. I think this is another insight that is really important for people to understand. I think if you look at first responders, a lot of times we credit first responders with having superhuman courage. And I definitely would call them courageous. I don't want to say they're not courageous. But in my experience and observation, it's not that they have superhuman courage where they're not afraid of something. What really first responders have is superhuman service. They go, oh, I'm scared to run into a burning building. But that fear is secondary to the fact that someone is in there that needs my help. And there is no fear when the mission to serve is clear. So their innate ability is to focus on service, and fear goes away as a byproduct. So if you're feeling fear, you're being self-centered. And so when people say, oh, my story doesn't matter, no one's going to like my story, you can hear it in the language, me, my, me, I. But once you realize, you go, somebody is out there right now seeking and searching and begging and pleading and quite literally could possibly be on their hands and knees praying for answers to questions that you know like the back of your hand. Why? Not because you have a fancy degree, not because you have famous friends, not because anyone cares about how many followers you have on Twitter or X. Like, it's because you've been down that path. You have survived that challenge. And so your credibility doesn't come from artificial factors like I've been on media, or I have a pretty website, or I have an important podcast with a lot of downloads or a lot of followers. That's not where your credibility comes from. Your credibility comes from asking the question, what setbacks have I survived? What obstacles have I overcome? What challenges have I conquered? Whatever pain or problems that you have personally experienced and moved past, those are the very things that shape you and make you and mold you into the person you needed to become one day to help someone else. So your story isn't important by itself, but it's ultimately important inside the context of its ability to matter and to help other people.
It's so interesting. I feel like it's almost like there's no shortcuts to getting to that. You've got to ask yourself the deep questions, or bring in someone like you and the company you have to ask those questions. Whereas the other metrics that people have when it comes to personal brand, the sort of perceived metric of success when it comes to a personal brand is the number of followers you have. So people say, cool, let me go and just buy a whole bunch of followers. And all that's doing is it's the fast route to the complete opposite. People know in almost every case if someone is disingenuous, if all of a sudden they go from 100 followers to 1 million followers. There's so many, we all have pretty good bullshit detectors, I would say, these days. But for someone who tells an amazing story that captivates other people, motivates them to action, enables them to feel seen, it's just so much more wholesome and sustainable. And if you're serious about having an impact, rather than just trying to make yourself feel good for a quick dopamine hit, versus, actually trying to help the world, I feel like it's essential to go through those questions there.